Imagine yourself a starship captain from a distant planet orbiting Earth in the 14th century. Below you, on the lush, vibrant planet, the plague, known as the Black Death, is sweeping across the land, taking the lives of as many as 3 out of 4 human beings. With space travel, quarantine is impossible. As the guardian of the galaxy and with the vast resources of a starship under your command, you have but 2 choices. Gamble that you could come up with a cure for the deadly disease, or annihilate the planet so the disease cannot spread. Now, let's put that same situation a few hundred years into the future. The starship captain is James T. Kirk, and the planet below is not Earth, but Deneva. After suffering a tragic personal loss, Kirk may have to make this ultimate choice in Operation Annihilate. This episode gave me the opportunity to play 2 roles. Besides the illustrious captain, I also appeared as Kirk's dead brother, George. Interestingly, Kirk mentions his brother once before in a previous episode called What Are Little Girls Made Of? However, Kirk refers to him as Sam, not George.
Well, bear in mind, I come from the original series. I mean, I started the original series when I was head of Desilu, hired all the people, worked with the scripts and everything else, made the 2 pilots in the series.
All clear, Captain. Hull temperature falling, gravimetric pull approaching tolerance level.
Very well.
Engineering control.
Reduce the subwarp speed.
Environmental control.
Take us to Deneva.
As far as I'm concerned, Star Trek began there and ended with that. I mean, I know it has gone on for many, many years in different forms. I know there are millions of people around the world who really love it in its different forms.
We're picking up a ship on our sensors, heading directly into the Denevan sun. He'll burn up.
Plot an interception course, Mr. Sulu. Warp factor 8. Lieutenant Uhura, try to contact that ship.
Aye, yes.
I think the original series started with a basic idea of we're now on this planet, we're now going elsewhere, and we're going to see what's over the next hill, over the next planet, whatever. And I think audiences went with us. Bear in mind, at that time, it was the first major, underscored major, color television series. Most of the series on at the time had just been converted to color or were just going into color. NBC, I think, was very wise in saying, if we are going to become important in the color television field, we had better put on the air something that will really sell NBC and at the same time sell color television sets for RCA, since RCA owned NBC at the time. And so along came Star Trek, the first adventure, the first voyage, the first exploration of space dramatically that took the television fans with them.
One of the interesting things about science fiction in the 60s and certainly the mid-60s when Star Trek came along is that it was not taken seriously at all. Sci-fi was for kids, and the best representation of that was probably Lost in Space, which came along a year before Star Trek did, and most of the Irwin Allen, sci-fi series that were on the air. Yes, there was seriousness to the Twilight Zone when they did go, into their futuristic episodes, The Outer Limits certainly as well. But most of science fiction, and certainly in the movies too, had a bit of a schlocky element to it. The outrageous, attack of the 50-foot woman kind of ideas of what we came to think of as sci-fi at that point. So, Gene Roddenberry comes along in totally intending to do Wagon Train in Space. I mean, he made, no bones about it. This is exactly what this premise was. But envisioned a much headier concept of science fiction, and a science fiction that was also about heart. And that's the great thing that I think Star Trek speaks to in its audience, that it was simultaneously wonderful adventure, great, cowboys and Indians in space, it absolutely was, but tremendous humanity.
I understand your concern. Your affection for Spock. The fact that your nephew is the last survivor of your brother's family.
Oh, no, Bones. There's more than 2 lives at stake here. I cannot let it spread beyond this colony, even if it means destroying 1 million people down there.
Operation Annihilate is part of a grand science fiction tradition. In 1951, Robert Heinlein wrote the classic The Puppet Masters about creatures not unlike those you saw in this episode. At the time it was written, it was a cautionary tale about the dangers of McCarthyism, and it was made into a film in 1994. Also, let's not forget one of the greatest science fiction films ever made back in 1956 and remade in 1978, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The remake starred Leonard Nimoy. Remember the pod, people? Watch the heavens and sleep with one eye open tonight.
A dangerous parasite enters a host body. It spreads, using the host's own resources to multiply and to feed. It weakens the body. The host's natural defenses attempt to destroy the parasite, and a battle for survival ensues. The battle is fought every day, in millions of us, against viruses that range in severity from the common cold to HIV. Now, imagine for a moment that the battle is not internal and not microscopic. Imagine that the parasite is not a mindless life form, but rather part of a giant intellect, using entire planets as hosts, and the inhabitants of those planets as casualties in that battle for survival. Captain Kirk's brother, George Samuel Kirk, was first mentioned in What a Little Girl's Made Of. But until this episode, he was never seen. Now, you might notice a strong family resemblance between Kirk and his brother. Did you get a close look? Sam Kirk should look familiar to you, since he's Bill Shatner, pulling double duty as both Captain Kirk and, by adding a mustache, his unfortunately deceased brother. Of course, playing a corpse is not exactly the most difficult of roles, considering that there are no lines to memorize. You don't have to worry much about hitting your marks. But nevertheless, Bill took it seriously, and he took the extra time to play the part. Ultimately, Operation Annihilate is a story of sacrifice. If he cannot find a way to kill the aliens, then Kirk will be forced to destroy the entire planet and its population to save the rest of the galaxy. In more personal terms, Kirk must also face the possibility of sacrificing his nephew and his best friend to prevent the spread of these parasites. Spock himself sacrifices his eyesight, even going so far as to call it an equitable trade. Sacrifice is a theme which Star Trek would return to again and again over the years, most notably in Star Trek II, where Spock sacrifices his life to save his crewmates, and in Star Trek III, where Kirk sacrifices his ship and his career to give Spock another chance to live.